Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, March 28th, 2017, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, March 23rd, 2017, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education, located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can we have a roll call, please?
Michael Beeland.
Here.
Mark Friedman. Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Robert Garrison.
Here.
Chris Langhart.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg.
Here.
Peggy Oster.
Here.
Charles Ostroff. Amy Root. Here.
Brendan, can you lead us in flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements. Amy, do you have an announcement?
I do. Yes, it's about the intermediate schools. The Optimist Club of Westfield has announced that the deadline for receipt of nominations for the 20th Annual Intermediate School Outstanding Teacher Award is Friday, May 5th. 2 intermediate school teachers, one from Edison and one from Roosevelt Intermediate Schools, will be chosen to receive the award on June 14th at an Optimist dinner and will be honored at a Westfield Board of Education meeting on June 13th. Nominations should specify ways in which the teacher has demonstrated outstanding teaching, interest in children, and continued pursuit of professional growth. The nominee must be a full-time teacher in the Westfield Public Schools in grades 6 through 8 for a minimum of 5 years. Students, parents, and staff are encouraged to submit nomination letters to Outstanding Teacher Award Committee of the Optimist Club of Westfield, care of Office of the Superintendent, Westfield Public Schools, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey 07090. Letters can also be emailed to OPTI Award, OPTI Award at westfieldnjk12.org.
Rob.
I have 2. Westfield High School. Westfield High School announced that 8 more students each achieved the highest score on either the SAT or ACT standardized tests widely used for college admission and placement criteria. And forgive me if I butcher any names here. Robert Faulkner earned a perfect score on the Math 2 SAT on in January 2017, achieving the top score of 36 in March on the ACT. Were Marlo Avedon in English, Chloe Brown in Math, Andrew Dazzo in Science, STEM and Reading, Jessica Fritz in Science, Eugene Hugh, English, Noah Schwartz, Reading, and Terry Collins the other way, Rollins Terry in English. And then elementary, congratulations everyone. And then elementary, this is a reminder that April 19th is the deadline for nominations for the 25th Annual Charles Philhauer Fellowship Award designated for a full-time elementary school teacher in the Westfield Public Schools. Nominations should specify ways in which the teacher has demonstrated outstanding teacher, interest in children, and continued pursuit of professional growth. The teacher must be a full-time faculty member in grades K through 5 in the Westfield Public Schools for a minimum of 5 years. Letters of nomination are invited from interested citizens, parents, students, and Westfield Public School staff members and should be addressed to Charles Philhauer Fellowship Committee of Westfield Rotary Club, care of Office of the Superintendent of Schools, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, 07090, or email to rotaryphilhauer@westfieldnjk12.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris.
Yes, one announcement. The Westfield High School Rotary Interact Club will be hosting an outdoor family movie night on Friday, April 21st on the Westfield High School field adjacent to the school. The film Zootopia will be shown at 7:30 p.m. and all ages are welcome. Admission for children ages 4 to 12 will be $5 and admission for adults and children over 12 will be $7. In the event of rain, the film will be shown in the gymnasium of the Broad Street YMCA. Tickets will be sold at the door. The fundraiser is being held to benefit the club's selected charity, Mary's Meals, a charity dedicated to helping hungry children overseas. The club aims to make a difference and fight hunger both locally and abroad. So a worthwhile cause. That's it.
Michael.
2 this evening. Greta's Run will be held on Sunday, April 23rd at 11 a.m. in memory of Greta Schoenman, a Westfield High School freshman who died from injuries on September 11, 2002. Organized by her childhood friends, all proceeds benefit people with special disabilities and adaptive needs. This year, an event will begin at Roosevelt Intermediate School. For more information, please contact Ben at gretasrun.com. In our second announcement this evening, in performing arts, Amanda Gant, our intermediate music director at Edison Intermediate School, sends good news. After auditioning with approximately 135 students throughout New Jersey on Saturday, March 18th, all 4 of our Edison Intermediate students were accepted to perform in the All-State Intermediate Orchestra. Congratulations to these extraordinary musicians who will perform on Saturday, May 13th at 3 p.m. at Summit High School. And our students include Amy Zhao, a 7th grade violin, Kevin Chen, 6th grade viola, Dylan McCann, 8th grade viola, and Kelly Egan, 8th grade bass. That's great.
Continuing on that scene, congratulations to Westfield High School sophomore Kevin Lee. On Saturday, March 18th, Kevin auditioned for and was accepted into the New Jersey State All-State Orchestra, the top-level state orchestra group. The audition included approximately 100 eligible students from the 3 regional orchestras. Performances will be held on November 10th at the NJEA convention in Atlantic City and on November 19th at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark. We joined his teacher, Craig Stanton, in expressing our pride for Kevin.
Thanks, Brendan. Peggy.
I have my favorite announcement, and I'm working on getting good weather to go with it also. The Westfield Public Schools will be closed for spring break from Monday, April 10th through Monday, April 17th. If you recall, since there is one unused snow day in the calendar, April 17th is the Give Back Day, and schools will be closed.
And our next Board of Education meeting will be Tuesday, April 25th at 302 Elm Street. The complete agenda will be available on our website on Friday, April 21st. Do you have any announcements? All right, well, let's hop right in. I'd like to ask the board to, I'll recognize the public for agenda items only. Seeing no one come to the podium, I'd like to ask the board to approve the minutes of our board meeting held on March 16th, 2017 in the private minutes of the same date. Amy, thank you for a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain since I missed the meeting.
Very good. Personnel. In Mark's absence, I would like to ask the board to consider personnel items 1 through 10. Can I have a second?
Second?
Rob, thank you. Dr. Bowen?
Yes, I have 2 different announcements regarding this. The first have to do with retirements and one has to do with an appointment. So tonight I'm announcing with regret the retirement of 2 staff members. Jason Grant has been a Westfield High School social studies teacher for the last 17 years. During his tenure, Jason has taught a wide variety of social studies courses, including women's studies, African American history and culture, economics, sociology, and U.S. history. Jason fosters a warm and welcoming learning environment where students are challenged to apply their learning in creative and authentic ways. He has helped his department to clarify understanding of social justice and discrimination issues. He has been the high school's valued liaison to Kane University's Diversity Council for many years, and he has brought outstanding speakers and presentations to the high school on topics such as the perspective of Holocaust survivors and women's rights. Second person retiring is, since 2001, Allison Hooper has been an art teacher in the district, beginning her career at McKinley and Tamaqua schools, then assisting our youngest learners in Lincoln, and for the last 4 years, Allison has been a member of the art staff at Edison. Allison worked with other art teachers to revamp the fine arts and crafts course at the middle school level and created meaningful pre- and post-assessments for students in the course. She was instrumental in creating a drawing club at Edison and has given students the opportunity to deepen their skills by providing open studio time both before and after school. Allison loves her field and is constantly taking courses so that she can offer more techniques to her students. And certainly both Jason and Allison will be missed, and we wish them well in retirement. On a different agenda item, it is my pleasure tonight to recommend Mr. Thomas Weber for the position of K-12 Visual and Performing Arts Supervisor. After reviewing over 50 applications, conducting 2 rounds of interviews, and also a site visit, our search committee was unanimous in their recommendation. Mr. Weber has 11 years of experience in the role of the K-12 Visual and Performing Arts Supervisor in the Egg Harbor Township Schools. His district's high school was named a New Jersey Model School of Arts Education. He served on the New Jersey Model Curriculum Committee and is currently the president of the New Jersey Music Administrators Association. And prior to his supervisory career, Mr. Weber taught at both the middle school and high school level for 13 years. He's also served as an adjunct professor at King University. So I'm very pleased to recommend Mr. Weber to the board, and I believe he will contribute positively to Westfield's tradition of excellence in the visual and performing arts.
Very good. Dana?
Mike Phelan.
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher.
Yes.
Ralph Garrison.
Yes.
Chris Lineheart.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Mr. Weber, congratulations. No obligation, but we always offer the opportunity to say a few things to the board, but certainly if you want to, we'd ask you to come up to the podium just for video purposes.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored and humbled to be the next supervisor of arts here in Westfield, and I look forward to continuing the tradition of excellence in the arts here in Westfield. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Facilities, Brendan.
No formal report tonight. We are meeting on Friday, 8 o'clock.
Long-range planning. Mark is not here. I'm not aware of new report. I don't know if we have another meeting on the agenda.
Not yet.
Policies, Chris.
Yes, we have 5 items on the policies. The Policies Committee met last Tuesday on the 21st. We touched upon a number of these items. I'll just take them one at a time. I'd like to ask the board to consider for approval item number 1, the guidelines and procedures for the 2017-18 student activity fee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brendan. I would just note here that the fees remain unchanged from last year. We discussed that in policies. Dr. Dolan, I don't know if you want to comment on that. We talked about making it more accessible online for those parents who want to register their children for the fees online as well.
Exactly right. We've been trying to do that, provide for online payments for as many services as we can within the district. So the same system that is used for to pay for lunches, to pay for the kindergarten wrap program, we're now expanding it to be used for the student activity fee. So parents can choose to pay that way, or they can continue to pay the way they have been paying in the past. And all that information is summarized in the packet which will be provided to parents.
Any questions? Dana?
Mike Phelan.
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher.
Yes.
Robert Garrison.
Yes.
Chris Lineheart.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
I'd like the board to consider for approval item number 2, the approval of first reading of the following policies: 1510, Americans with Disabilities Act, and 8505, a wellness nutrition policy. Can I have a second? Thank you, Ben. These again were discussed at our meeting last Tuesday. Dr. Weissman gave us a thorough review of the Americans with Disabilities Act and all the changes therein. And I believe, Dana, you went through the wellness and nutrition policy. They're all first reading. Any questions? Okay.
Mike Phelan.
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher.
Yes.
Robert Garrison.
Yes.
Chris Lineheart.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Item number 3, I'd like the board to consider for approval second reading of the following policies listed on the number 3 of the agenda. Very numerous, I'm not going to read them all. Can I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ben. These were all discussed last time. Any questions on these? Okay.
Mike Phelan.
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Chris Lineheart.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Number 4, I'd like the board to consider for approval the second reading of the 2018-2019 school calendar. Can I have a second? Simon, thank you. I just want to call out the efforts of Dr. Dolan and Barbara Ball and Paul Panera, who really worked hard on this to structure it so that we would have graduation on a Friday. We originally didn't have that. We received a lot of feedback, none of it good on that. So we worked really hard to change it, and very appreciative of all the time that went into that. Any questions? Dan?
Mike Beelan?
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher?
Yes.
Rob Garrison?
Yes.
Chris Lineheart?
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg?
Yes.
Peggy Oster?
Yes.
Amy Root?
Yes.
And finally, number 5, I'd like the board to confirm the superintendent's decision on HIV incidents 17E11 and 17E12 for the reasons set forth in each report. Can I have a second? Thank you, Brenda.
Mike Beelan?
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher?
Yes.
Robert Garrison?
Yes.
Chris Lineheart?
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg?
Yes.
Peggy Oster?
Yes.
Amy Root?
Yes.
The Policies Committee will meet again on April 18th, and nothing further. Okay.
Thank you. For curriculum, I'm just waiting for it to load on my iPad. I'd like to ask the board to consider items, sorry, 1 through 2, technology. Can I have a second, please? Thank you, Brendan. So the district field trips and overnight field trips were attached to the agenda, and then there were a number of curricula on the agenda. There are for first reading. If anybody has any questions, I know that the curriculum cover sheets were circulated to the board. I'll direct those to Peggy and Amy because I missed that meeting. Does anybody have any questions about the math curriculum or the social studies curriculum?
The changes were really minor. It was really because of the state standard verbiage changing, but not a lot of substantive change in the curriculum items.
Great. Okay, David.
Mike Beelan?
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher?
Yes.
Rob Garrison?
Yes.
Chris Lineheart?
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg?
Yes.
Peggy Oster?
Yes.
Amy Root?
Yes.
Nothing further on curriculum, finance, again in Mark's absence, I'd like to ask the board to consider and approve finance items 1 through 10. Dana, can I have a second, please? Brendan, thank you. Dana, is there anything that needs to be called out on the finance agenda?
No, I don't think so.
Any questions from the board? Dana?
Mike Beelan?
Yes.
Brendan Gallagher?
Yes.
Rob Garrison?
Yes.
Chris Lineheart?
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg?
Yes.
Peggy Oster?
Yes.
Amy Root?
Yes.
I'm not sure when our next finance committee meeting is.
It's the 7th.
Perfect, thank you. Technology, Peggy.
No report. Our next meeting is April 28th, I believe.
I'd like to ask the board to note the notes for the record. And do we have any unfinished business this evening? Any new business? Any liaison reports?
I'll just make a quick comment if I can. The Wilson School held their social last weekend. It was a very good event. Everybody seemed to have a good time. And tomorrow is both the quarterly Wilson School PTO meeting as well as the Garden States Coalition. I believe Amy's going to join me as well down in lovely East Brunswick tomorrow. So we'll report on the content of both next time.
Great, thank you for attending.
I have one liaison report from the town rec committee. The turfing of the field at Tamacas continues to proceed along, which I know we have an interest in. And Bruce Kaufman, I believe got in contact with you, Dana, the town rec committee is ordering a number of AED devices, and they'd like to place some of them on the school property. So I think they'll look at the data, find appropriate locations and structures so they don't get vandalized or ruined by the weather. That's it.
We have some of
We
those
do.
devices already, right? These
Yeah,
would
we
just be
do.
additional?
We have ones that are in the buildings, and then we have portable ones that our coaches have.
Okay.
These would be ones that would go outside the building that pretty much anyone would have access to. So they would be something that could possibly get vandalized, but on the other hand, it also could save somebody's life.
Right.
So that's what we're working with them. They have some kind of grant that
That's
they
right.
want to use towards some of these. And then there's an installation cost that we may have to pick up a little bit of, but we're working with them to find the appropriate places to put.
I guess it makes sense, given the extent to which the town uses board fields and property. But, okay, that's great. We'll thank them for that. Any other liaison reports? Yeah.
I missed our last board meeting, so I just wanted to say that on March 15th, the Special Ed Parents Committee had their expo at Edison, which was really well attended. I think they had over 200 people there. They did have 2 speakers have to cancel because of the inclement weather, but they're looking to see if they can maybe reschedule one of them, the woman who was going to do a presentation on twice exceptional, so kids who are gifted and have an IEP for something. They're looking to get her in later this spring, so when we know more about when that can happen, I'll let you know. But yeah, it went well and was, as always, fascinating. So they also wanted to extend a thank you to the buildings and grounds people for, making things available and for offering to open the building on Wednesday night, even if we had a need for a second.
Paraprofessionals.
That's right, the paraprofessionals were honored with the Make a Difference Award before the sessions started. They try to make an award every year for one or more individuals who have helped.
the Achieve Teachers.
Achieve teachers? You're right, Achieve teachers, yes, sorry. I missed the actual session, so I'm being prompted, but yes, terminology. No,
But the paraprofessionals have been honored with different year.
This is true,
But this year it was the Achieve Teachers.
This year was the Achieve teachers. Yes, so, yeah.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? I'll just have a quick report. I attended the Westfield High School PTSO meeting. They have, I wouldn't call it a Kickstarter campaign, but it's not that, but they're basically fundraising to fund additional air conditioning units so that every classroom at the high school will have AC. That was something that we knew of only because we knew it would have an impact on our energy costs, but they're hoping to be able to pay for all the units. And then Mike Morris and his team will install as they are able. So keep an eye out for that, whether you have kids at the high school yet or not. Certainly, I'm sure all contributions would be appreciated. And I think that was pretty much all that happened at that meeting. Well, a lot more happened, but that's almost worth reporting. At this point, I'll recognize the public for any questions or comments. Can you just state your name? Yeah, come on up. Sorry. State your name and address when you get up there.
Sure. Pamela Brooks, 775 Carlton Road, Westfield. And I was coming in regards to, there was a question placed to us, and it was a suggestion that we actually look into more about a student representative on the board, if it has ever been discussed or thought about, a non-voting member, both in essence, not only to get a voice of what is that, this would, from what I looked into, it's mostly high school students, so high school student and getting a voice on the board for up the high school and what's going on in the high school, but also a way of getting them engaged in the whole electoral process, Board of Education, local government, etc. also. And so I wanted to know if it has ever been thought of. I don't remember ever having this in Westfield, but
I'll let Dr. Dolan speak to the historical context. I don't know if you have a recollection.
So I don't know that there was ever a student who was on the board. I do remember it being discussed by the board, actually fairly recently. It had been discussed, but it had been decided, while student participation is important, and I certainly agree with your point about trying to encourage our students about the electoral process, because that's part of our role in my view in public education, but not doing that by having somebody sit at the board. So that's what has happened in the past that I'm aware of.
I would just observe, well, first of all, we have Brendan, who's not so far out. But actually in the last Board of Election race, we had 2 high school seniors who ran for a seat on the board for various reasons. I think once they found out, because they would be entering their freshman year of college, what the time commitment was and what it would look like, I think it ended up not working out for their own personal reasons. But so we certainly have had interest from the high school community before, and that was, encouraged to the extent it was appropriate. So I thank you for the recommendation. We can talk about it. It's not something in my 5 years that I remember there being a conversation about, but I think it's worth us having as a board, and so thank you
Yeah,
for
most
bringing
of
it to us.
the places actually have one-year terms because of the same thing as you said, that it would, if you had like a 2 or 3 years, it may interfere actually in them going to, away for college. The most important thing was to get actually a voice of the student, even though they're non-voting, but in regards to maybe agenda items or another perspective, you know, just totally different than you all may have.
Just one point, we do try to have student representation and hear voices. For example, I think it's next week. Next week we have our Code of Conduct Committee, which reviews the Code of Conduct for all levels of school, elementary through high school. And at that committee, we do have we do have student representatives, as well as parent and teacher and administrative, and their voices certainly heard at that table. So we do have examples like that, but as the president said, we can look and consider whether or not the board wants to consider that.
Similarly, when we hired our new principal, the students at the high school, Dr. Dolan and Barbara Ball met separately with them, and that they gave their input in terms of what their expectation and what their desire was for a principal for the high school, and that was part of what the interview committee considered when. So I think we do make a real effort, especially at the high school level, and a lot of them are engaged. They don't even wait for us to come to them. They come to us, they send us emails and things like that, but none of that is to diminish the value of your suggestion, so we'll certainly take it under advisement. Thank you.
Right. Because
So you can report back.
yeah, because, and I'd like to hear back actually what the decision of the board is in that regard.
I'm Lydia Kaplan, 245 Clark Street. As you might remember, I'm a professor at Kane, and we do have a student on the board of directors. It's just sitting there, so it could have some value. All right, so we'll report back to our little group.
Let them know, and then
Yeah.
I'll follow up with you personally.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wouldn't we encourage any members of the public, whether they're students or adults, to come to our meetings and see what we talk about and see what, I mean, I have no idea how many people actually watch the videos on the website. I don't know if we keep those kind of, if there's any way to capture that kind of data, but, absolutely, I would say they should. I've actually been, contacted by some students from the AP Gov, class at the high school, because those kids try to do an internship after they're done with the AP test. And so I've been approached to see if I would take on an intern or two perhaps during that transition period at the end of the year, to help me with my work. So, that would be interesting for all of us.
And we have someone, yeah, I mean, the board usually gets approached as well, and so we try and, if we can, and we have projects that are useful, absolutely.
Yeah, a great way to learn.
Valuable.
Help
Yeah.
us, yeah.
Anybody, yeah.
When is the next Board of Education election?
Oh, well, the elections are in November, they're key to
Just coming
the
up.
regular election, yeah, but I think that, I'm not sure when the petitions have to be filed, it's usually over the
Usually
summer, is
July.
that correct?
Week in July.
No, my
July.
point being that maybe the students who are already 18, it would heighten their voting experience. It was the first election my daughter ever voted in, and she was miserable. Because it's not very glamorous to have your first election be a Board of Ed election, but I encouraged her.
Oh, it's very
Yes.
glamorous, I have
Yeah. She wanted it to be, you know. So that's something we can alert the 18-year-olds to consider when the time comes.
Sure. Thank you. All right, so clearly I have to figure this iPad thing out. Here we go. So, seeing no one else come to the podium, I would ask the board to approve the following resolution. Resolve that the Board of Education moves into private session for the purpose of discussing legal matters, negotiations, and harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second? Brendan, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in private session. Thank you.